is the Littleton console, named for the town my mom lives in, but since we're all moving now, makes the name seem a poor choice. Anyway, it's intended as a decorative storage cabinet that sits below a mounted television in my mom's condo. It's made from sapele, ambrosia maple, and ebony. I really tried to use the wood grain in some cool ways on this piece, and it was super fun to build, so let's dig in. I made some MDF templates that I'll use throughout the build, and they'll come in real handy for layout. The goal, whenever possible, is to find grain that naturally follows the curves of the workpieces. It can be tricky and sometimes wasteful to do this, but I personally think that it's worth it. For this top rail, I found a thicker piece with a gentle curve, and I'll just resaw that in half and flip the pieces so that they not only follow the appropriate curves, but are also a book match. It's subtle, but cool. So now I'll start milling the cabinet frame and legs to final size. I won't be cutting any curves just yet. Next up, we can mortise the legs. I have a bunch of mortises of various sizes, so I lay them out carefully and do the cutting with a plunge router and an edge guide. The bit is a 1/4 inch up spiral. Notice I'm using an additional piece clamped to the workpiece for extra support. And before anyone says, why didn't you, why don't you, you should have, or blah blah domino, this build is a guild course, and in the guild I like to show a variety of techniques with a strong focus on the most accessible methods. And don't worry, the domino will make an appearance later. The rails also need mortises, and they're a little bit trickier to do, so I made a very simple little jig from plywood and scraps. The jig holds the workpiece securely while still giving me a nice reference surface for my router. Works like a charm.
Yeah, baby.
Now the mortises need some tenons, so I'll plane some stock down to a 1/4 inch and then round over the edges. These long sticks can then be cut into individual tenons. And hey, look at that! It's a bottle of Type On too! Just thought I'd mention that, no reason. Now you don't have to do this, but I like to pre-glue the tenons into the rails. This makes the dry assembly quite a bit less floppy and reduces the number of mortises I have to worry about in the final glue up. Next up, I'll cut a series of grooves for our panels. There are 2 side panels and 1 back panel. The cabinet has a bottom panel, so I'll use the table saw to make those grooves. Where the bottom rails meet the legs, we need to extend the grooves to accommodate the panel. Looking groovy. After a quick measurement, I'll cut the bottom panel to size. To help prevent damaging the rails, I'll ease the corners of the panel, and a little dry assembly to make sure everything's doing what it's supposed to do. I think that's it. Next up, the doors. I'll cut the parts to rough size, then use my templates to finalize the size and shape. Since I already showed how to make the joints using a router, this time I will use the domino. The top rail gets a notch cut out that still allows the domino to fit and puts the mortises where they need to be. Without the notch, there just won't be enough mortise left after the curve is cut. The door stiles can be cut using the domino and the domino dock from my buddy Ramon Valdez. It's a pretty cool device.
You don't have one? Get one!
To finalize the shape of the door parts, I'll attach the template using CA glue and blue tape, and then flush trim at the router table. The doors have panels, so I'll cut the grooves using a slot cutting bit. On curved edges, there's really no better way to get the job done. Hey look, more Type Bond! Alright, so let's make ourselves some ambrosia maple panels. I'll flatten the 3/4 inch stock and then resaw it in half to make the book-matched panels. By the way, the streaking that you see in ambrosia maple is actually caused by beetle infestations. I'm also cutting enough stock for the sides and the back panels. Now, one thing that's funny about woodworkers is that we often know what's going to happen, we've seen it happen, we know it's probably going to happen again, but we soldier on, reveling in our stupidity in hopes that maybe, just maybe, this time will be different.
Oh, balls. Too much pressure.
The door panels need to get their shape from the inner perimeter of the door, so I'll use the door itself to draw it out and then cut to final size. A little test fit, and it's looking pretty good. Before final assembly, I'll sand the door parts, add some gentle profiles, and then apply a cool little detail to the joinery areas. We usually want this to be crisp and continuous, but this time I'm intentionally rounding it over to create a sweet little shadow line.
Oh, baby. Yes.
Now for the final glue up, I'm using Type Bond's liquid hide glue. I honestly don't know why I don't use this more often. It gives you extra working time, it's reversible with heat and moisture, and it cleans up easily with water. Yeah, I should probably use this more. With the doors glued together, I'll test the fit in the opening and make a few little adjustments. A hand plane works great for this, but if you're a power tool nut, get yourself one of these little guys, a giant disc sander. Now we can install the knife hinges. I actually broke out an entire tutorial on installing knife hinges from this project, so if you'd like to see that, click the link or find it in the description. Next, I'll lay out for a few shelf pin holes, which are holes for pins that will hold a shelf. And now it's time to finally add the curves to the frame parts. They'll be cut to rough size and then flush trimmed to final shape. And now we're down to the nitty-gritty before assembly, as I add roundovers, soften edges, and sand wherever I can to prep for finishing. I'll do this assembly in stages, starting with the front frame, then the back frame. And then I can bring the whole thing together with the bottom panel and the side components. Now this is where that hide glue really shines, as it gives me a bunch of extra time to get everything perfect. And honestly, if I can give you one piece of advice that will benefit every future project you do, it's to use long set glues for your more complex glue ups. If you're rushing because the glue's setting up, there's a real good chance you're going to make a mistake and ruin a project that you've already invested weeks in. Don't ask me how I know. Now let's make a drawer. I'll use regular maple for the box. Rabbets at the corners will be reinforced with brass dowels, and we'll cut some grooves for the bottom panel at the table saw. I made my bottom panel from 1/2 inch ply since I'm actually trying to use up material before my move, but to make it work with the 1/4 inch groove, I gave the panel a nice perimeter rabbet. Just know that on a drawer of this size, a 1/4 inch panel makes a whole lot more sense. After the glue up, I'll drill all the way through for the brass dowels. Now the drawer front is made from ambrosia maple and features a sapele detail on the sides, so I'll cut a half lap on each end of the drawer front. I could then glue in a small piece of sapele. This is purely decorative, but I think the effect is cool. Some dude on Instagram came up with this idea when I posted an early sketch of this piece, and he's gonna be mad if I don't give him credit, so thanks guy on Instagram. Once the glue is dry, I can give the drawer front its final shape. Since I have easy access without the top in place, I could just glue the drawer front directly to the drawer box. Normally, I attach drawer fronts with screws for the sake of future adjustments and repairs, but on something this small, I don't mind just gluing it in place. Plus, hide glue is technically reversible, so if something happens, I do have some options. And now for the top. It's really just a big sapele panel with a few curved edges. And now's a good time to make the shelf too, which is just from 1/2-inch maple. And remember, like my friend Megan Fitzpatrick always says, your hand is not a hammer. The top gets a nice little round over, some sanding, and boom! It's ready to roll. Now for the hardware. I'm using Macassar ebony to make custom door and drawer pulls. I don't normally work at this scale, so I did find it kind of challenging, and in some cases my fingers got a little bit too close to the action, but the final result turned out pretty nice. Now this is the pull for the drawer. It's a different design from what I did with the doors, but it's clearly in the same family. At this point, the doors will just push into the case unchecked, so it's a good idea to install a stop. I'll add some magnets to the door and the stop to not only stop the doors, but to hold them closed. The side and back panels will receive faux dividers. We could have done an actual divided panel for this, but this method is a whole lot easier, and it gives us the look that we want for a lot less work. And honestly, no one will ever know. Wait a minute. So for the finish, I bet you can guess, that's right, a hard wax oil. I'll apply 2 coats in total. You can really see the wood come to life with finish.
I like it a lot.
By the way, I've got a video showing how to apply hard wax oils on both small and large pieces of furniture. I'll put a link in the description for you. To attach the top, I'll use these nifty little right angle clips that secure the top while allowing for wood movement. Now I can install the doors, the shelf, and the drawer. So there it is, the Littleton console, a wonderful example of woodworking micromanagement in all the best ways. I hope you enjoyed watching, and if you want plans and the full video course for this project, head to thewoodwhispererguild.com and I'll hook you up. Toodles!